And you might find yourself having to reach into spaces of support that you haven't had to do ever before, right? Like, most people don't support one partner grieving another partner while also trying to maintain their relationship. Like, that's new territory.
Welcome to Normalizing Non-Monogamy, the podcast where we interview incredible people from all over the world to hear their personal journeys of self-discovery through the lenses of love, sex, and relationships.
Our mission is to show people that they're not alone and to inspire them to embrace their true selves so that together we can open minds and live authentically without shame.
We believe everyone's story is powerful and beautiful, yet it's important to remember that everyone does life a little bit differently and that the views and opinions expressed by our guests do not necessarily reflect our own.
Additionally, we aren't doctors. Please consult a medical professional for anything regarding your health that you might learn about on the show. Enjoy!
Welcome, everybody. This is Meshai and Fin. Welcome to Ask Us Anything, where we get questions from the community and we answer them to the best of our ability, just to be able to be supportive and maybe talk about the things that get stuck in our head a little bit.
I don't get stuck in my head, but I can imagine other people do.
Other people.
Other people. You know, this is our 6th one. We've been doing this 6 months now, Meshai.
Nice. I'm enjoying all of it.
Yeah. And we've been getting good feedback. So thank you to everybody who sends us feedback and for everybody who sends us questions. Thank you. Thank you. And we've got 2 awesome ones today. And we also wanted to let people know some exciting news about sending in questions. You can now send us written questions. We will accept those begrudgingly. We would still love it if you could record them and send them in, but we know not everybody wants their voice out there. And really the important thing is to get the information out there and help people. So if you want to send them in, you can find that on our Contact Us page. Send us an email that way. Maybe just put in the subject header, like Ask Us Anything or AUA or something like that. So we know that's what it's for. And we will read it and you'll get one of those today. So you'll get an example.
Awesome. Yeah, we're doing that. We want everybody to be really comfortable. So if it feels more comfortable to send it in with a written form, I know that sometimes I'm like, I can do it. And then I get to do it. And I'm like, nope, backpedal. Yep. So yeah, we want you to feel included too.
So we're tearing down walls. So you can send us in your questions and we will do our best to work them in. Our goal is to keep these to, roughly 30 minutes, a little bit more of a bite-sized piece. So. Well, before we jump into the first one, maybe we'll just introduce ourselves briefly for anybody who's brand new, maybe what makes us roughly qualified to do this. Meshai, do you want to tell people about yourself in 30 seconds-ish?
Sure. My name is Meshai. Hi again. I am a life coach with Expansive Connection. I'm also certified in sex therapy and certified in trauma therapy. I'm also a fully licensed marriage and family therapist. But in these contexts, I like to work just in the coaching sphere. And I've been doing this for a couple of years. I also have my own personal journey in E&M, and I've been doing this for a couple of years now. Falling upward the whole time. So yeah, sharing my journeys with you as well.
And on my end, I have far fewer licenses and credentials, but I have been exploring non-monogamy for more than 15 years with my partner, Emma, who I normally host the show with. We've talked to hundreds of people for hundreds of hours and have lots and lots of anecdotal experience. I've also am just finishing up my sex and relationship coaching program that I've been doing through the Somatica Institute for the last 18 months or so. I'll be done later this month, and I'm excited about that.
Are we doing cake when you're
I think we should do some cake, And well, we're recording a little bit early, but tomorrow is Pie Day, so maybe I'll have a celebratory piece of pie.
I like this.
All right. Fantastic. Well, let's jump into the first one. And this first one is one that was sent in via voicemail.
My wife and I are thinking about being more open and public about our being in an open relationship. We'd like to understand what are some of the things that we can consider or should consider in making that decision. What are the upsides and the downsides to doing that?
All right. So coming out, being more out in public, just being more of who you are, Meshai, what are your thoughts on the pros and cons of this?
I think that the first thing, because I'm always like, what are the things you got to watch out for? What are some things that might be a little sticky? I think it's like the very first thing that most people think about is like the fear of being recognized. Like, what happens if like I run into like a coworker or a friend, or if you're still involved in like religious circles, like what happens if I run into somebody from like small group or something? I think a lot of people in the community have done a lot of dates that are a town over or 2 towns over. So what does that look like if you're doing it locally? And so those are some things to like think about. Maybe we don't do it at like are there certain places that we don't go to because it runs too close to work life or, kids group, like what kind of groups my kids run into, or friends. Like if a lot of my friends live in this particular area, maybe I don't go to that particular area so that I feel freer to have public displays of affection in public. But I think like before doing that, it's really important to be able to have like a conversation with your partner about what it is you say to someone if you do run into someone that you know, so they're not sitting there sweating buckets trying to think of something on the spot. I think that could just be really uncomfortable. Or maybe you're just like, I've decided that this is what I'm going to do and I'm going to just move forward and be open about it. But if you're going to do that, it's also recognizing that on some level, you'll have to be open with everyone.
Yeah. Yeah. I love that. I think the thought that comes to mind for me is almost an order of operations of thinking about who do I need to maybe come out to explicitly before we are just showing up. Right. And so to your point, like maybe one part of town is we're likely to see a whole bunch of friends, and that's a place that we're okay coming out to. So we need to go to those friends, either individually or as a collective, and say, here's something you don't know about us. Here's something you might see me or you might see my partner out at dinner with somebody else, holding hands, kissing, like, we're not cheating on each other. This is what's going on. Similar for work, right? Maybe you are okay coming out at work and that's part of that, but maybe your work is sales and you're like, okay, I don't want to come out to all of our customers. So could you not go to this part of town because I have a lot of customers over there or whatever, right? So just because you're coming out doesn't mean you have to come out everywhere. It doesn't mean you have to come out to everybody, and doesn't mean you have to just be 100% like unfiltered everywhere you go, right? You get to kind of control the level at which you do this.
Also, I think if you're going to come out to some people, it's also important to have the conversation around what happens if that kind of starts to look like rejection or people distancing themselves from you because you've come out. So being able to not just have the conversation about like what happens if someone sees you with another person, also what happens if you tell these people and they start to pull away from you.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely one of the risks is that the more you are yourself, that you may start to see the people that you thought were your close friends and your confidants not be quite as close, which is hard. I think it has the double-edged sword of also being somewhat of a reward that you will, as you continue to be more and more yourself, you will inevitably attract more and more people who are like you and who are like, who share those same beliefs. And so I think being aware that there could be a little bit of a changing of the guard in some sense of the word, that some of the people who you were close to might be less close, and people that you weren't as close to or maybe didn't even know are now much closer to you than you ever thought was possible. So just something to be considerate of.
Yeah, I definitely remember telling someone that was really, really close to me about what I was doing. And although their words were really kind, not necessarily supportive, but they were kind. And I could tell that from the conversation, they were like, this sounds like something you do because you're crazy. Also, she was like, I couldn't do that. And, there was like some inflections of like, marriage is very sacred and like that it holds in this container. And these are all values and things that I support for her as well. But one of the reasons I told her was because I thought we were that close and because she doesn't sound like it's too far off the market from something I would try anyway. and there has always been since then like a small pulling away. So making sure that you're ready for, well, as ready as you can be for the fact that some people who you feel like you could be authentic with might feel like this is just a step too far from what they want to include in their day-to-day life.
Yeah. Yeah. I'm sorry you had that experience. It's hard.
It is hard. And the flip side of that is that I have shared it with other people who were like, okay, and moving along. And so I get to show up in all parts of myself and know that I'm going to be really well held. So even though I lost that kind of closeness in that relationship with that person, I've been able to like breathe. I can take off a girdle and just like sit down with my other friends. And like, that's also really nice too.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. And I think, I mean, we're straying, I'm about to stray a bit from the question, but I think there is some beauty in that often remembering that it's not about you, right? It's probably more about the other person, what they've got going on. And we've seen this a few times in our world where we've come out to people where they're sort of like, okay, whatever, you do you. And maybe that we weren't like, they didn't really pull away or nothing really changed. But later on down the road, those people came to us or to one or the other of us were like, hey, I've got something going on in my life that like, I actually don't have anywhere I can talk about it. And because you took the step or because we took the step of leading with the vulnerability and the trust, you know, maybe the initial reaction is some distance, but down the road, it might actually be something that bonds you together even tighter than you ever thought was possible. Not a guarantee, but it's a potential, right? Because now you are somebody's safe space, and there's a lot of power in being somebody's safe space.
That's very true. Very true. I like that. Yeah. Let's do that one.
I think also, and this is where I want to say we're not lawyers, so we don't know all of the legalities around stuff here, but thinking through what are the impacts of potentially your job, on your kids, on school. You know, one thought came up was we've heard people where non-monogamy has been used against them in like
court cases or
court
child
cases, custody cases. So thinking through that, and not that this isn't that you shouldn't do it, but sort of understanding that there are ramifications. Your state or your whatever you're in may not have protections for this. So just considering some of those things before you are coming out more, really just kind of, I think, solidifying your foundation to know, I'm going to come out, I'm going to be myself. What ways does this impact my life? And so I think thinking about kids, jobs, school, all of those are really important. And if you can, I'd say try to talk with your kids about it, get their buy-in, at whatever age appropriate way you can. Because if you're going to start coming out and all of a sudden their teachers are seeing you or their friends' parents are seeing you, that is going to impact their lives. And not that you don't have a right to do that, but I think it's a kind thing to have everybody on the same page before they're like, well, what the hell? No one said that my, gym teacher was going to see you out with your partners. Nobody warned me that was happening. And now my life is hell at school, and school is already hard enough. Right.
Yeah. And then piggybacking off of like the thing with the kids as well, I think it's really important for you to have the conversation, because I know that like people tell their kids at different ages and different stages their capacity to hold it. But having the conversation about privacy versus secrecy, and being able to talk about the difference with your kids, because we don't want them to carry our secrets for us, or to feel like, this is the beginning of blurring those lines. So we want to make sure that kids understand, like, if this is private, like, why is this private in a good and healthy way versus like a secret? So that they can engage with you appropriately. And because you're recognizing that you're trying to protect them from like blurting it out to the gym teacher and now everything's weird,
Yeah. Yep. Totally. And I think how those all happen, right, is important, right? Whether maybe your kid walks in on something or sees something that you were like, we weren't planning on coming out, and maybe it does need to be a secret, and maybe there is talk about why that is important. But I think too, if you are more intentionally coming out, to not be in the position of saying, well, you can tell your friends' parents, but don't tell grandma and grandpa, or you can tell grandma and grandpa, but don't tell Uncle Joe, right?
Yeah.
Like it gets really then like,
really
okay,
confusing.
I can't even keep track of who the hell I'm supposed to tell and not tell. And now I'm expecting my 7-year-olds to do it, right? That's so just being mindful about that as you start down that path, because it can be a slippery slope. And once you crack the door, there's no guarantee that the door doesn't open itself up. And
I mean, kids just tell all your business. Like, there's some things you just think that you don't have to tell them, and you're over here realizing they're giving like your financial breakdown to someone, and you're just like, that happened today.
Yeah.
So making sure it's really age appropriate, because most kids can't hold water in a bucket, or they get really, especially if they get really excited about your person, they're going to want to talk about it with other people, you know? Yeah. So what does that look like? What does that overflow of enthusiasm from kids look like too?
Yeah, that's such a great point, because they don't know. They don't, for the most part, kids don't know that there's social shame and stigma around all this shit. And they're just like, Mo, I love when this person comes over and they're so exciting and I had a great time. And you know, maybe they're telling grandparents like, every Tuesday, so-and-so comes over for 6 hours and mommy goes and stays somewhere else. And all of a sudden you're like, well, I get why that was all exciting. You got to have a sleepover in the fort in the living room, but now there's a whole bunch of information out there that we didn't know was going to be out there. So, yep.
It's like, can't put that back in the toothpaste tube. Like, it's out there. Okay, so what are some of the rewards then?
Yeah, I'm so glad you said that, because I was going to say, which I think like leads into some of the rewards, which you and I chatted about earlier, was really the freedom to be yourself, right? Because then you get to jump in and celebrate with your kid, for example. Like, you get to have a sleepover in the living room in the pillow fort every Tuesday, and we get to tell grandma and grandpa, and we get to tell all your friends, and everybody gets to be excited about it. So you don't have to hide anymore. You just get to be you, and everybody gets to be excited.
Yeah. Like, oh, you both want to watch anime? I don't have to. I can go do something else. I'm excited for you too. You know, like that. Those are great things, and then they're probably want to tell their kid, their friends, and stuff like that. So, you know, I like the idea of being able to show up with authenticity around just like the ability to be seen as your full self in society is what makes monogamy and the constructs that support it kind of like continue to live on. Right? Like, even though sometimes we all recognize there's parts of monogamy where we're like, well, we know this does not work, but we also know that there's social structures that help to hold it, and the reflections back of like the good parts and the parts you strive for are good. And so like we kind of want the same things on a lot of levels, right? Like that's kind of part of like the social structures of being seen and validated. So I think we were talking about earlier how nice it is to be able to go to your partner's house or hang out with their parents or hang out with their siblings and have that validation reflected back to you as being an integral part of that person's life. And that feels really good.
Yeah. That it's not weird, right? That what you're doing is just the norm. That you can show up and, you know, cook holiday cookies with your pseudo in-laws, right? Because that's just cool, and nobody has to pretend that, oh, this is Finn, he's a friend. Yeah. And then the whole time I'm talking, I'm like, okay, only say things that friends would say. Right? And so
how much policing.
Right. And so to be able to just throw the shackles off and say, yeah, I'm just going to be me. There is a lot of power in that. Or to be able to go out in town and not worry, like, can I hold hands on this street or not this street? What about this restaurant? What if this person? So there is so much freedom in that, to be able to just be yourself. I think that to me is the biggest reward of it.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I think I will just say one other like small side reward stuff that can happen is it can start opening up. Maybe like there can be some financial benefits, right? If you can tell, let's say you can tell grandma and grandpa that on Thursdays we both go on dates with our partners and you get to watch the kids, then you don't have to find a babysitter, right? And maybe then there's some really cool things that can happen there. Not that you have to tell them why you're going out for it to be legit, but it would be kind of nice, right? I can see to be like, hey, this is why. And we don't have to hide. Or something happened with one of the kids and they text one of the parents, and now you're at 2 different restaurants on separate sides of the town, figuring out how you come back together to pick up your kids in a timely manner. Like there's stuff that happens.
Yeah.
And when
true.
you're just being honest, you don't have to worry about all of the logistics and craziness of it. So
I agree. I like it.
All right. Well, I feel like we solved that one. Solving the problems of everybody here.
Like it. We're solving world peace. I couldn't get that out. We're solving world peace. Yeah.
All right. Well, should we see what happens in the next question when relationships end, Meshai?
Yeah. Let's tackle this one.
Yeah. This one is our first written question. So I'm going to read it. And it's a fairly short question, but I think it's a really powerful one. And it's one that we haven't talked about really yet. So the question is, how do you balance being sad or heartbroken over a breakup with one partner while still being madly in love and happy with your spouse or another partner? Especially if it's a breakup that includes no contact and you don't have the option to remain friends with your former partner for the time being. Additionally, what advice do you have for the person supporting their partner going through a breakup or grieving a relationship while you're still enjoying your thriving relationship with them as well?
That's a good one.
Yeah. I think this is one of those that to me doesn't get, when people think about opening their partnership, it's what are all of the fun adventures that we can go have, or even the fears of, well, what if you leave me? What if all of these catastrophic things happen to us?
Yeah.
But the thought of, well, hold on, there might be a time where we have to support our partner or be supported by our partner in grieving the loss of another partnership. I don't think that one rarely to me makes it to the front page of the things to think about. And so I'm really glad this conversation question came in.
Yeah. I think jealousy and shared time normally get the highlights. This one's a sticky one because this one's like, you don't know how long they're going to be grieving. This could be a long process.
Yeah.
And if you're not a fast processor, then, like grief is like waves in an ocean. It just like comes out a little bit and then comes back in. Yeah.
Well, and how many times, right, in, let's say, monogamous land, when you're supporting, I think there's a few things that come up for me, right? You're supporting a friend in, again, I know I'm creating the divide and maybe furthering the problems we have around the divide between monogamy and non-monogamy. But I think a lot of times, right, if a friend comes to you and is like, hey, I broke up with somebody, the general sort of vibe is like, get on their side, stick up for them. Like, let's vilify the other person as a way to show solidarity and support of our friend or of our family member, our person. And so that, like, first of all, that might not be the case, right? Maybe it was this person just had to move. I'm not angry. I'm not upset. I'm just sad. Yeah. So like, it doesn't have to be a divisive thing for that to happen.
Or like sometimes like the primary or the primary relationship had to like come back together and work on itself, and they don't know when they can open the doors again or something like that. And you might be like, I want to be really supportive of that for you all. Also, this sucks.
Yeah. Well, and I will even just offer to flip that on its head and say, maybe your partner wasn't a primary partnership. Maybe they were married and they're now getting a divorce and trying to maintain the partnership with you. And so now you are, how do I support my partner where I maybe wasn't even their primary partner, using that language, and now they are disentangling a primary partnership and I'm supporting that. So you're now like, okay, well, that was not a thing I signed up for when I thought I was going to be, this sort of quote unquote, side piece or
supporting role.
A supporting role, right? Maybe what you said was, I have space in your life to see you once a month for a really awesome date. I'm not looking for a primary partner. And all of a sudden, maybe you become a primary partner.
Yeah.
Just by default. So there's a lot in here that is unexpected or can be unexpected.
Yeah. Yeah. And you might find yourself having to reach into spaces of support that you haven't had to do ever before, right? Like most people don't support one partner grieving another partner while also trying to maintain their relationship. Like that's new territory.
Yeah. Well, that's what I mean. I think we often just say we're going to vilify together, but even if we're not going to vilify together, the strange parallel of, okay, we're good, you're happy with me, but you're sad all day long. How are these happening at the same time?
Are you still crying in the shower? It's
Right.
been 3 months.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's guilt then I know, like, having lived through this a few times, right? There's guilt and shame on both sides. There's, why am I sad? I should be happy. Look how amazing my life is. I have a wonderful partner and yet I'm sad. And on the flip side, we have a wonderful life. We're going to Disneyland, whatever. Why are you sad? How could you be sad at a time like this? And so, like, I think all of this to say it's hard and we don't get really to practice it.
Nope. Also, if it's like your first time doing this, you sometimes don't know what to ask for.
Yeah.
You don't know how to be held. Maybe you feel like it's an avalanche on the inside if you're the person who had to walk away from a relationship and are trying to, bottle it up so you don't bleed all over the place. So you're not even sure where to put the emotions, which just creates more awkwardness between you and your partner. Yeah, it's a hard one. So I had some thoughts about how to handle that a little bit if it's your first time. Just really generic, making sure that you give yourself time and space to feel all of your feelings. And maybe you designate a time during the week to just be like, I get to fall apart. I get to be really sad, because shoving it down won't help you get past it faster. And also it's not allowing your partner to see all the parts of you either. You're hiding, and, that's not good for you. It's not good for the people who love you either. Also, talking about feeling sad sometimes in a general way. If you're like, I don't want to have an avalanche fall on top of my partners. So, being able to say maybe today I'm just sad and leaving it there, or saying today I'm experiencing a lot of grief. I don't want to necessarily go into it, but that's where I'm at today. So you can check in with them so that there isn't hiding. But if you're if you just pull one little string, the whole thing's going to fall apart. I get that. But we still need to be able to communicate that to other people. And then also checking in with your partner about how they could best support you. This is what I would love from you right now. Lots of tacos. Can you bring me tacos? And then also trying to figure out how, as the partner that's providing support, how do you want to support that person? Maybe what they're asking for is more than you have the capability of giving, and being honest about that. Okay, I'm gonna keep going. And then also making sure that you distract yourself. And then really kind of lean into journaling, maybe seeing a therapist or a life coach or any other type of coach, so that you can have a safe container to process through all of the things that you're feeling, to have that reflective mirror, to have that safe space, because grief is enigmatic and you deserve to feel all of your feelings. And you also deserve to have a really great way of packaging it back up so that you can live the rest of your life.
Yeah. Yeah. So much good stuff in there, Meshai. Thank you. And I want to lean on some of those and say, right, finding, not that you shouldn't seek support in your partner, but they might say, I can't today, right? If you woke up and you come in and share, hey, today's just going to be a sad day. I'm really sad.
Mm-hmm.
So you might just see me crying on and off all day. And your partner's like, today's one of the, I'm having a great day and I don't really have the space to deal with that. Or maybe I'm having a sad day. And so we're going to just set each other off, right? And so both of you being able to say, this is where I'm at and what I've got today. And I think that pulls in then finding support outside of the two of you to say, okay, you're not my person today. That's okay. I'm going to go and I'm going to go have a call with this group of people, or I'm going to jump into this space over here and get support. Because, I mean, the reality is we can't be 100% of anything to anybody. And so to also think that you're going to now be their 100% of their support as they grieve and process a breakup, that's not possible either.
I like that. Making sure you're really learning, like leaning into your friend group and your community. Even if you can't tell them everything, just being able to say, like, I've been having some pretty big sad or depressive feelings, and I just need to be loved a little louder by the people around you. You don't have to tell them everything that's going on, but at least they know which angle to come at to best support you.
Yeah. Yeah. I think, adding on a few other thoughts around how do we support the person who's supporting the person who went through the breakup, right? So you went through a breakup, you're leaning on your partner, also remembering, and I love that the question took this person into consideration. It wasn't just, how do I get better?
Yeah.
But my partner's in it too, right? And now they're having to support me at a time where I don't even know what I need, or I don't know how to do this. And I think that to me is one of, it's a beauty of this, which is likely especially if this is your first time, you've never done this before. This is a really cool opportunity to do something for the first time together. And maybe a reframe about that, right? I've never gone through a breakup where I've been married. I've never gone through a breakup where I'm watching my partner go through it and I'm not going through it. So I think there's opportunity in there to really tighten up your bond and figure out.
I like that perspective.
Yeah. Figure out ways to do this, but understanding that person is also going through something, right? And this one, they said, like, what if I can't even talk to this person? We're on no contact. Well, what if, there's a chance that your partner got really close to their metamor and they were really close to your partner and now everybody's on it. So they're maybe grieving a little bit of a loss too. And now you're both grieving. And, so there's just, I think, to me, the overarching thing is so much like grace and empathy and understanding that we're all hurting in here, or multiple of us are hurting. Nobody's doing anything wrong, but it still feels yucky. It still feels like, how can you be hurting there's just so much that's like swirling at once, and just to give yourself grace that is a reality. And that's not a model that we get to see a lot of examples of.
Yeah. I agree. Or like sometimes I think that some people just don't know, right? Especially if you've gotten married early, or maybe you were the person who never got broken up with. You're like, I don't know what to do with this. Like maybe being honest with your partner about the fact that you don't know what to do with it. Be like, I can follow instructions really well. And if not, we can fumble through this together. And recognizing that you might need some boundaries too. Like, this is as far as I can go in supporting you in this, especially if it's gone on for a really long time. Like I don't get to tell you how long you get to grieve or don't grieve. And, there's parts of my world that will have to continue to move forward. Even if I liked my metamor, I can't stand the grief because our experiences of the same person are different. And so I want to be supportive of you, and recognizing that like my world might move on a little faster than yours does.
Yeah. You're not going to necessarily move at the same speeds of healing and all of that. And I think something that also comes up in my mind, right? When you kind of said, like, we don't know how long this is going to last, how long the grief will last, how long the healing will last. I think too, remembering that it's not uncommon when you see somebody go through a breakup, monogamous or non-monogamous, that they break up, then 3 months later they get back together, and then they break up, and it may not be a linear path.
Yeah.
And so now you could potentially be going on this ride of, especially if you're not super differentiated from your partner, which guilty, a lot of the time, where if my partner is upset or angry because of some way that they feel they've been treated, it's pretty quick for me to be like, yeah, fuck yeah, I'm right there with you. And then like a week later, they're like, okay, well, we're getting back together. And I'm like, hold on, what? Like, I thought we were pissed off at this person. Why are we now getting back together? I'm confused, right? And so to just understand that you're about to go on this like roller coaster of emotions, and you're not going to make sense a lot of the time because maybe they aren't even yours. So just keeping that in mind.
That's so true. Oh, we like this person now? That's where we're at? Okay, I need a day. Hold on. Gotta wrap my head around this. Oh, you did say something when we were talking before we started recording about like I should be enough. For my partner, like my love, my joy for you, my excitement and investment in our relationship. Why isn't that enough to help buoy you up? So that you're not always or sometimes stuck in this sadness, or in this grief. Like, why isn't what we bring to the table enough to kind of help carry you through this harder space? That's like a real thing.
Mm-hmm.
And sometimes it socially signals to other people, like it can trigger on an insecurity of like, are we not as amazing and great as I thought we were? Is my love not as big to you as I thought it was? I thought we were special. Is the specialness not like enough? And or even makes you question, the relationship, like is the structure and the roots of it just as big, if not deeper, than the relationship that you were just in? What does that look like? So it might create some like relationship comparison down the road.
Yeah. And I love that. And I think like even weaving in a thought to that around back to how can we support one another and asking for the support we need. And maybe in those moments, there's an opportunity there to say, hey, like I'm feeling like my love isn't enough. Our relationship isn't enough. And maybe taking that and going, well, what would help here? Right. So I think we give the person who's grieving the opportunity to ask for what they want. But I think there is a place and space for the partner who's maybe supporting the breakup to say, what I need today is we need to go to the trampoline park and play basketball and do fun stuff. Yes. Because I get that you're going to be sad for the next 6 hours or 6 days and 20 hours. But I'm missing you and I need a couple hours of fun with my partner. Not to erase the pain, not to get rid of it, but like I'm needing that. That's some support I need. Could we do that? We got room for the sadness. I don't want you to be inauthentic, but could we try to go do something light and fun, right? Start to build that back in.
Mm-hmm. Oh, that's brilliant. All right. We've solved world peace again. Did you guys just hear that? That was amazing.
So now you know how to break up without any trouble and you know how to come out without any trouble.
Yes.
Well, while remembering that the reality is all of this is actually really fucking hard. And I tend to reframe stuff as like, how awesome that I get to go on this interesting journey or adventure of doing this thing, but that doesn't mean it's not hard. All right. So I guess how do we feel about these two? We've tackled coming out. We've tackled breaking up. I think the takeaway for me from both of these and most everything that we talk about here together is it's not easy. It's hard and we're pushing against the grain. Yeah.
And that you don't have a lot of reflections of how to do this well. Like there is like a well-beaten path to follow. And so you are kind of making this up as you go along to the best of your ability. So you might mess some of this up and you might land it perfectly, both of which are okay because we're human, having human experiences. The whole point is just to show up as yourself and to do the best that you can.
Yeah. I will issue a quick correction. You will mess this up.
Awesome.
Not that you might, you will in fact mess it up. And then we get to mess it up together, repair together, grow closer together, and try again the next time, and then probably still mess it up again later.
Yeah, I like that view. I was trying to be like fairy gums and what is it, dewdrops? I don't know. And you're like, no, that's going to happen. No. Well, he's right.
I've done it. I've screwed up enough times, and I've seen people screw up enough times to know it's inevitable.
It is.
And yeah, here we are. We live to see another day. We try to do our best. We take care of one another. We repair and we try again. And hopefully we do it better.
Yeah. Well, I sometimes try to make sure that whether it's like the breakup or the coming out and all of the fears and weird emotions that come behind both of those, knowing that at the very, very base of it, it's about self-discovery and your own experience. Like, how am I feeling in this? What am I learning about myself? What's coming up for me? So that every moment is also filled with gratitude and curiosity. And I just like, that's what makes life exciting. So even though these things are hard, there's also so much that you learn about yourself along the way.
Yeah, I think having that, we've often said to people that non-monogamy, I think in general, is a hard path to take if you are not interested in self-growth. And not that we always have to be constantly striving to be better and growing. I think there is still room to rest and just be content with who we are. But so many of these things that, that we talked about, just these two today, to be able to look back and go, well, that was an experience. Like, what did I take from that? What did I learn from that I wouldn't have if I hadn't been going down this path? And so it is hard. Much of this is really hard. And also, I look back at some of the hardest things and go, well, I don't know anybody else who's ever done anything like that and come through it. And here we are. And now I'm me because of it. But it's hard in the moment to look at it and go, I'm going to be a better me because of this thing that I'm sitting on the floor crying about for the last 6 weeks.
Tell me in like 4 months.
That's right.
We're good.
That's right. So we're here from the future to assure you
that it's going to be okay.
All right. Well, with that, Meshai, maybe we let everybody get along with their day.
Yeah. Sounds good.
And quickly remind people how they can find you, and everything you're about to say will be in the show notes.
Okay. You can find our coaching website at expansiveconnection.com. Or you can just email me at Meshai, so that's MESHAI at expansiveconnection.com.
Perfect. And you can reach out to me at our website at normalizingnonmonogamy.com. You can also get to Meshai through there. I'll forward anything you send along. And we will see you all in a month.
Yep.
All right.
Thanks for spending time with us.
All right. Bye, Meshai.
Bye.